And welcome back to another episode of Pengy's podcast, No Script, No Problem. And this week we are talking about Sonic through the years as a generalisation and little offshoots in between. And with us today we've got Todd of TYG with us.
Hello there.
Who is obviously one of our writers and, contributors to the content we create. Alongside with us today we also have Sadven.
Good morning or good evening, wherever you are.
He is a good friend of the community and also a streamer. Where can we find you on your various places, my friend?
Easy peasy, twitch.tv/Sadven.
Alright, so obviously the biggest elephant in the room, we'll just knock it out straight away. Objectively, before we even go anywhere, we know Sonic 06 is bad. It's been railroaded to death. Let's be real. Coolest bit about it. But we're looking at like the everything of Sonic. It's like me personally, obviously I've got extremely fond memories of it playing as a child, and even like I know a lot of people are a bit up and down about it, but I really enjoyed Sonic Origins. Again, it's one of those grey areas. Yeah, see, already I heard that noise about it. I liked it.
It's not the worst compilation. I think, it's just it did have a few issues when it came out, and I do think Sega have... It's funny because someone else mentioned this to me. They said Sega doesn't feel like Sonic is Sega's number one boy anymore with the way they're treating certain releases, and I kind of have to agree, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I wasn't sure when I was playing through the Oranges collection. I wasn't sure if I was just really, really crap at Sonic 1, or if the hitboxes were just really jank. Because there were sometimes it felt like I was just making mistakes, and other times I was like, this doesn't feel right.
Was that your first Sonic game? Sonic 1? Actually, what was your first Sonic game?
No, my first was Sonic 2.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah, and I was, probably 5 or 6 maybe. I weren't very old. It was... like, I was at the prime time for Sonic to jump into my life with all these bright colours, and I'm like, oh, this is amazing.
Yeah,
well,
most people, yeah.
Sega back then was its own it's still a standing company now, but coming back to what Todd was saying about with it not really being like the main thing that Sega do anymore, they lost with Dreamcast. It didn't do well. They're just diversifying and monetizing what they can, and we're actually getting good quality games as a result of that. So it's an organization that is actually showing that they can learn, which is a fresh change of pace.
I liked the Dreamcast, although I have to blame the Sega Saturn for the whole, just from the beginning to the end.
True that. That's a good point. Well, that was Sonic, Adventure 1 and 2?
Yep.
On Dreamcast?
Adventure 1, yeah.
Good old OG 3D Sonic.
3D Sonic. I love Adventure 1 and 2.
Yeah, Adventure.
It's funny. It's funny. Like whenever Adventure 1 and 2 gets brought up, there's always two very different standpoints. Personally, because of the name Adventure, I feel that number 1 is a better representation of the title. A lot of people are like, no, you're a naysayer. Number 2's the best. I think number 1 hits it better.
2 was definitely more polished.
It's more polished. 1's more of a fun. I'd say Sonic Adventure 1 is more of the more fun game to play than 2.
I mean, completely excluding Big the Cat's bits, but
can we please, forever?
But you can't. The thing is, though, with big stages, you can complete them in like 5 minutes. You can complete his whole, segment in 5 minutes. But in Adventure 2, you've got those Emerald hunting stages, which, thanks to the radar, which is completely backwards now compared to Adventure 1. It's awful. Mad space. Mad space.
Yeah, no, the gems were definitely... I mean, to be fair, even in Adventure 1, I was never a fan of... Again, Knuckles is one of my favourite characters anyway, but his Emerald missions in both games, to be fair, they are not fun.
Oh, was this the digging one as Knuckles that you mentioned? Yes. Mm-hmm.
Ping around for 3 locations and just sort of echo location where these emeralds are, and they can last anywhere from like 3 minutes to nearly 20.
Yeah,
it is.
The bigger the levels, the worse it is.
But to be fair, this goes hand in hand with Sonic in general. But all of those levels did have slapping tracks to them.
Oh yeah,
great soundtracks.
The OST for every Sonic game. Well, I say every Sonic game. I personally feel for every Sonic game. And if you look at how the early composure worked as well with what they had to work with, it was very, very little. And now you've got the likes of, is it Kellen Quinn?
Yes. Yep, it is. It's Kellen Quinn, Sleeping with Sirens.
Penguin, so subtly called Butt Rock.
Butt Rock, yeah.
Crush 40 is Butt Rock, okay? I'm not knocking it because I have their entire discography on my Amazon Music.
So do I.
Okay? I unironically like them. I mean, my current playlist of what I've got is like my top plays or whatever. I've got...
big mood enhancer.
Oh, it really is.
It gets you going, It's like, Don't put Enigma on before things. Just put some Sonic music on. You'll be set.
Right, you know, you're feeling a bit down. Just slap on Undefeatable from Frontiers. Get ready to go.
Yes. Or Vandalize.
Yes.
So good.
I know I can't remember the name of the song. There's another one, and a lot of people don't seem to give it a lot of love compared to the other tracks in Frontiers. Where is it? Breakthrough.
Breakthrough. I enjoyed Breakthrough.
Yeah, I really. Oh, sorry, Breakthrough at all even. But yeah, I really, really enjoy that song.
See, like, the tune already comes to mind. But it's nice as well, especially with that soundtrack, because it's almost like each little boss battle music section, it tells a story.
Yes.
Like Tails, losing his confidence and having to become a bigger person sort of thing. Amy's issues always being, Sonic's love interest, but now tarot cards aside. She's got her thing, and then we've got Knuckles, who likes to lift weights and stuff, So-
Unless we get into Sonic Boom territory, where...
True.
And I'm talking about the show, I'm ignoring the game.
I was going to say, that was a banger soundtrack. Sonic Boom, Sonic Boom, Sonic.
Knuckles' character development in Sonic Boom was my favourite thing in TV, or Sonic filmed media anyway, because he was fantastic. Okay, he was this lovable meathead, but some of the stuff he came out with was just gold. And it's a shame that the game dragged the show down, honestly.
Yeah. When the game actually did come out, it was
Well,
nice
yeah.
because, hey, new Sonic game. Let's check it out. It's like, oh, what is this teen Sonic thing? It's like, is Sonic vegan? He doesn't even eat chili dogs anymore.
Not that there's anything wrong with vegan, but it's definitely one of those...
Definitely not.
Sonic's
Definitely not.
a chili dog
Chili
eating
hog.
hog, and that's
Chili
like
hog.
it's been his brand. Anyone that's a 90s kid knows that Sonic chili dogs are his thing. That's always been a thing.
The iconography is like immediately there, especially with the OG, like the TV series. Like, I'm sure all of us watched growing up, even though it was American.
I mean, which one? Because there's two.
Ooh, not
Well, technically there was three
one
actually
that-
for the 90s. There was
the one that had
The
Flight
Adventures
of
of
the
Sonic.
Bumblebees. For the theme tune.
Yes, I think that was The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, commonly
Yes,
referred
good.
to as SATAM, which I found weird.
I didn't know that.
And then there was the other one, which was all about obviously Sonic and the Freedom Fighters. And then a little bit later, there was Sonic Underground, where he had a random brother and sister out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Which, let's look at all media since then, and they're not there.
The snapping.
But yeah, like even like still like with the soundtracks. I mean, even just going back to the ones that kicked it all off on the Mega Drive. Like I still hum those tracks today.
Oh, absolutely. Like my go-to Ice Cap Zone from Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Like such a jam. Act 2, amazing.
See, I'm not sure which one I like the most because it's
All
I
on
quite like Hidden Palace.
That had MJ with the voice vocals in it.
Yeah, I quite like the name's gone now. It's the third level in Sonic 3, where all the land moves constantly. I can't think of the name now.
Marble Zone.
That's the one. It's like bow, 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 bow.
Yep.
Yeah. It's such a jam.
It's so good. So good. That boss battle as well, where you flew with Tails. Amazing. And it tied in, funnily enough, really well with Sonic the Comic in the UK at the time. So it was cool to see both sides of the story, both the portrayal in the game and in the visual media side too. Very cool. Great time to be a Sonic fan in the 90s.
But I think that's one of the things that I really like about Origins, because obviously as a kid I didn't know because I was dumb and young and I didn't know this information. But the whole Sonic 3 and Knuckles meant to be in the one game originally and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Everyone that kind of knows their salt now is Sonic 3 and then Sonic and Knuckles were meant to be that one single game.
That's right.
Wasn't enough space and stuff like that. I think it was not enough space or time constraints, probably both, and they ended up splitting Sonic 3 into two different cartridges, hence why you can slot them together.
Yeah. Well, it was
But then
3D
with the
Blast
Origin-
after that, wasn't it?
It was, yes. But like that's one of the things that I do love about Origins is that it just slaps them together. Because when I was reading the box, when they was giving out all the advertisements, they were saying, look, here's the original 4 games, 1 CD, 2 and 3. I'm like, wait, hang on, you're missing one here. There's meant to be 5 games. And then when I dove into it, I was like, oh, they've put them together as they were meant to be.
Very cool. It is very tricky with the State of Origins. If you look at it as a collection, it's like, yes, this is very, very good. We've got it on PC. We waited so long to get Sonic on PC. When Sonic Adventure 1 first came out, I still remember seeing the disc at basically our equivalent of an Argos here. It's like, I can play Sonic on PC without emulation and all that. That's amazing.
Didn't Sonic Jam come to PC first?
I'm not sure.
Or was that after Adventure? So I
So
know there
they
is
did a
Sonic
whole lot of
Jam.
remasters. Yeah, there is. But I think the big problem with Origins was the price. That's what put a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths. It's like, I'm not paying $1 squillion for something that's sitting with dust in my garage. But then you get all the cool things you didn't know about, like that Sonic 3 and Knuckles were meant to be one game, the art, all the other bits and pieces. Like
I know I gushed to Todd about this when it happened, but when obviously way back when they released Sonic Mania and on YouTube they did those little shorts.
Yeah,
The fact
it
that
was
they
so
got the
good.
artist back in to do the intro
Yes.
scenes and outros for Origins, I was like, this is gold. This is what I want.
So good. You just feel like that inner child, like,
Mm.
clapping. It's like, yes. I've waited 30 years for this, but it was worth it.
I mean, I'll be honest, I've double dipped into Origins. Well, I say double dipped. The first time around, I was lucky enough that Sega threw a review code my way for Origins on the
That's
PlayStation, which
nice.
was beautiful.
Very
and then when
nice.
Plus came out, I went out and bought it again for the Switch.
Hey, that's a fair call. It's nice to have it portable.
Well, yeah, you know, it sits nicely with Sonic Origin, Sonic Mania Plus. So like both of them just sit there together with their, reversible Mega Drive sleeves. I'm like, I love it.
Oh, sorry, just really quick, I was going to say, it's like having a nice book on the shelf. It's like, they've put a lot of effort into the design and all this, and it's sitting there, I can see it, it has value, it's really cool. Yeah.
I mean, the only issue I do have with Plus, Origins Plus anyway,
Yeah.
is that the games that they put on there, they should have used the Master System versions for some of them as opposed to the Game Gear. Why they chose Game Gear over the Master System version, I can't fathom.
It is interesting, yeah.
'Cause it's definitely not for lack of space.
No, I wonder if the code is just more linear and easier to work with something that's slightly more modern. And when I say slightly, I mean like 2 years.
Yeah, it's gonna say it's not that much, is it?
So it, what, went from 16 to 32-bit? Maybe the 32-bit is easier to work with.
Mega Drive Sonic was 16, wasn't it?
I think
that
it
was 32.
was.
Yeah, no, you're right.
No, trying to remember the front of my Mega Drive now.
No, yeah, Mega Drive was 16-bit because then they had the 32X, which was the 32.
Yes, that's right.
Posting.
That's right. Yeah.
And then the Master System was the backwards, so that was 8.
Pass.
Because the Master System came out, I think, just after. No, Master System was first, but they remade Sonic for an older system, which was peculiar. And it's an entirely different adventure, so it's worth playing.
Master
Anyway.
System Sonic is great. That was my first Sonic game. Master System version. I still love that version to death. Because
It's
we had
good.
the Master System. We had the Master System and it had Sonic built in. So, you
see,
had a
that's
game
just gold.
free with it. I've still got it somewhere, but yeah. And what I find it odd, Sega keeps releasing the Game Gear versions. I'm like, the screen crunch and everything, it just, for that version, and the bosses are so easy. And I really do wish that they would actually re-release the Master System versions again of 1, 2, and Chaos. I don't think Triple had a Master System, but except in Brazil, I think. But yeah, that's great versions. Great
That's
game.
some impressive knowledge, man. I didn't know that at all.
But if you want some
Yeah,
fun
and
knowledge,
I couldn't, for some reason, my mic was silent during this time, but you said about Sonic 3 and Knuckles being
Yes.
split. That was because of McDonald's.
I'm sorry, McDonald's.
Yeah, it was because of McDonald's. Because
Go on.
McDonald's had a deal. McDonald's had a deal with Sega at the time to release a Happy Meal with Sonic toys to promote the release. But because they hadn't finished Sonic 3 completely for the deadline, they literally had to split the game in half because otherwise they wouldn't meet McDonald's deadline for their promotion. So you can blame
Oh,
McDonald's
Ronald
to split.
strikes again. That flippin' clown.
So you could split. You can blame McDonald's for that one.
Do you know, I generally didn't know. I generally assumed it was just to do with cartridge sizes, but that is
No,
a
McDonald's.
wild story instead.
And if you look back, you'll see all the McDonald's adverts. You know, you might remember the toy with Knuckles in the cloud.
Oh yes.
For some reason,
Yeah.
he's in a cloud. That was one of them. I still don't
Don't
understand.
we all
that.
wish we were in clouds?
But yeah, McDonald's struck again.
I was just going to say with Angel Island Zone, when you get to that first little bit where you can't smash through the rocks as Knuckles, as Sonic, you need Knuckles, that puzzled the heck out of me as a kid. And I can't believe it's Ronald McDonald's fault. That bums me out.
Damn you, Cloud! Yeah, no, I was just on the back end of interesting information. I feel Todd would already know this. Potentially you as well, Van, but I only learned it today. But Superstars
Hit me.
was originally conceived as the Mania 2 that changed that much over time that it became its own thing. It got kind of essentially Mania 2. The idea got scrapped, and then it became Superstars instead.
It's funny because I've read so many conflicting things on what happened behind the scenes for Superstars and stuff. It's an odd situation. I mean, Sega have this knack of making something good, but then saying no, we'll do something completely different, even though we, built a blueprint of, oh, this is good, but we're not going to use it again. So you'd expect a Sonic Mania 2, but they didn't do that.
Did Christian Whitehead release a statement around it at all? I didn't see anything.
The company did, I think. I think the company did.
So yeah, from what I was reading, it was a statement from one of the Sega execs saying that it did start life as this and then became this.
Interesting.
Because they're making their own game, aren't they? Christian Whitehead and his company, they're making... I can't remember what it's called. It looks good, by the way, but I can't remember what it's called.
You can see as well, and just to go with the idea of it being, say, Mania 2, as I do inverted commas with my fingers, a lot of the gameplay design choices that were part of Mania are actually present in Superstars, which was interesting to see.
Out of the conflicting stories, that one seems to definitely have the most weight behind it.
Yeah, a lot of weight to that. That's.
I mean, like I said, I literally read it. I think it was today or yesterday. I was just flicking around looking at stuff, and yeah, it was just. I couldn't tell you the name because I forgot the name. That was at least 10 hours ago now, minimum. But yeah, no, when I read it, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I tend to believe that.
Yeah, I mean, with Sega's track record of, like you said, starting something and then changing it midway through development, it's like, yeah, I can see that. It sounds about right.
Well, at least Superstars didn't turn out like Sonic 4.
True.
I can say that
Superstars
much.
is amazing.
Well, sadly, this is where I'm going to have to take a slight back seat on this because as much as I enjoy Sonic, one thing I do have to say about it is, despite it being a Sonic game and being a big fan, my biggest bugbear, not even played the game, don't even own it yet, is for a 2D Sonic game, it was 50 quid at launch.
Yeah.
And I'm like...
It's that price point thing, it's Origins all over again.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that sort of put me off a little bit. I mean, at least with Origins Plus, like they dropped it to about 30.
Yeah.
Which is more like I'd expect to play that for like a 2D Sonic game. Even at Mania, when Mania launched, that was what, 20, 25 maybe, brand new?
Yeah.
And obviously being all 3D graphics, I expected it to be a little higher, maybe 25 to 30, but 50 to 60, I was like, come on, guys.
I mean, I knew Sega were going to be cheeky because they obviously released Sonic digitally, and then they said, "Oh, here's a physical version. Here you go." Like a year later, and I knew they'd do the same thing with Origins. It just made sense. But 50 quid.
20 hours into Superstars now.
Wow!
I finally finished it.
I mean, the thing that's tied me over. I mean, I've not actually finished Frontiers yet because there's so much to do, and my brain gets very easily distracted by open world games.
Frontiers is huge.
But I recently picked up. Actually, I've told both of you already. I recently picked up Sonic Colors Ultimate for a silly price, and just replaying that again. Like the last time I played it was back on the Wii when it first came out, and it's so good. I don't understand why it's so difficult. To be fair, when I go back and play Sonic games, I'm just having fun, and then all of a sudden it just kicks you in the face. You're like, why is this so hard all of a sudden?
Yeah, that was my experience.
What is going on here?
Yeah, I could say the same thing for Superstars, actually.
It's a fair point. The physics and acceleration are a little different, especially when you contrast it to Mania.
I'll save that for later, but yeah, Sonic Colors, it's funny because I used to love Sonic Colors when it first came out. I was like, yes, this is the Sonic game I've wanted for like years and years and years. But now that I go back to it, it feels a bit, what's the best word to describe? Stop and start, I suppose, is the best word I can describe it. It doesn't flow as well as, say, Generations or even Forces, I think, flowed a bit better, but I do still like Sonic Colors. I do think it's a...
Interestingly enough, you say about the stop and start thing. I actually believe it was Scruff that said it. Yesterday when we was in a big group chat, I was saying about, I can't get all these rings because I need the aliens. And then, drop of a hat, Scruff turned around and was like, so what you're saying is Colors is, in a way, a Metroidvania. And I'd never been able to put my finger on it before, but yes, Sonic Colors is, in essence, almost a Metroidvania, if you want the 100%.
It's a valid point.
Yeah, it was one of those moments of, it's not wrong.
It's not wrong. I don't think I've ever heard it described like that. I think that's the first time I've ever heard it described.
It's got elements of it. I mean, like, don't get wrong, you can just blast through all the stages, get to the boss, beat the game, done. But if you want to go back and you want that ending, you want that true ending that you got to fight for, in theory becomes, because like if you get new power, you want to go back to a level, you see if you can get it. Especially for like first time players, they'll get a new ability, go back. It's like, oh well, I still can't get this ring. Why not? And it's like, oh, there's another power down the line, my friend. Off you trot. And I mean, technically speaking, you can kind of go wherever you want within reason. Like you get your first planet open, then you open them 2 more, then you open 3 more. And you do kind of have that level of freedom.
But would you say tying like the level design to wisps that you have to come back to is just maybe a little bit lazy rather than having more content?
No. No.
No?
I think it's because obviously Sonic games are all about the replayability. Like that's the one thing everyone goes back for.
Yeah,
you play it and it's like obviously Origins or Mania. When the games came out, they had 4 characters, 3. Out the gate. Origins had Amy, so 4. No, Origins came in with DLC, so yeah, both had 3 to begin with, sorry. So even though you'd just been at Sober Sonic, you then still technically had 2 more runs if you are experienced the game as Tails, where new paths open up. And it does, just because I'm recently playing it, if anything, it kind of gives that same feeling, but you're still playing as Sonic, but the more various wisps you get, the levels just change. The routes you paths, the routes and the paths that you take change almost dynamically by getting those new powers.
So you would say it enhances rather than hinders?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a fair, valid point. Yeah,
I'll say that.
And like even some of I can't remember the exact name of all the wisps for name, but the little ghosty one that lets you kind of float and then teleport. Just
the
that
green
wisp
one
can take away 10 seconds from a run. So if you're going for a faster run, just having that one wisp in a level that you didn't have before will dramatically drop your time.
That only came in with Ultimate though, didn't it? It wasn't
did
in
it?
the OG? Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Correct me if I'm wrong, please.
I think you're right. I think.
So it's been a while since I played it on the Wii. I don't remember what was there, what wasn't.
Right.
It's been so long.
Rip the Wii.
Not rip just yet. Mine's sat right there under my telly.
Propping it up.
Yeah. Hey, no. It's not the topic we're talking about, but I have my Wii there specifically for my Metroid Prime trilogy, okay?
Oh, fair.
Yeah. Which you was going to throw away until
I very nearly sold it, yes. Foolishly.
Well done,
I could have punched you that day.
Little aggressive. I don't know why you're getting so upset. We've got Prime 1 remastered now. 2 and 3 are definitely on their way because they sold a buttload of them.
Very true.
But anyway, we're not talking about Metroid. That's definitely a topic for another day.
Let's talk about Sonic Spinball.
Oh, don't get me started on Spinball.
No, let's talk about Sonic R.
Hey, you say don't talk about it. I generally enjoy Sonic Spinball.
Really?
I think,
yeah.
I like it, even if it's hard as balls.
I like the soundtrack to it. I like the risk that they took with it. It's definitely a word to use because every game before it was so speedy, and in this it definitely took a bit of a step back in the speed department, but it was unique, and it
has a good sense of style.
Yeah.
But a niggling feeling at the back of my head that it wasn't Sonic Team that made Spinball. Was it some random third party at the time?
It was an America. It was it was made in America, but I don't know if it was part of Sega or a different company. I'm not quite sure.
So
I have a feeling it's
field.
Yeah, it feels very Western compared.
Yeah, definitely.
So from what I'm seeing here, it says the developers was Sega Technical Institute. Is who made it.
What earth is that at the end of the day? Interesting.
That was the company that was set up by Mark Cerny.
But to be fair, Sonic has jumped in bed with so many different devs at this point.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, money, right? Otherwise, we don't get to play the games. So.
Actually, speaking of outliers of games, we'll definitely jump back to Sonic R because again, great game.
Oh no, it's a guilty pleasure with Sonic R.
But I really enjoyed Sonic the Dark Brotherhood.
Interesting.
I'm genuinely, and I mean this with zero sarcasm, I'm gutted we never got the sequel to that to see where that story ended. I mean, it was different, it was weird. It was an RPG, and I don't know. There was something about it. I dug it.
I would like to go back and play it because I've not played it for yonks, just to see where I stand with it. But I remember back when it first came out, I didn't like it, so I don't know.
I don't think I had it when it first came out. Maybe I didn't have the console at the time.
But yeah, no, it was like I said. It was much slower paced.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there was something endearing about it, especially that BioWare got involved with it. Of all dev teams.
That's the thing. The BioWare one that they did for the Game Boy, one of the portables, was it? I remember the name of the Sonic game. I had a ton of fun with it. It was like a battle. No, it was an RPG. Was it Game Boy?
Well, Sonic
Game Boy Advance?
RPG.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the Dark Brotherhood.
Yeah, it must be the Dark Brotherhood. Yeah, because I've only ever done, I think, one RPG for Sonic, I think.
To my knowledge, I believe so. Yeah, but yeah, Dark Brotherhood is the
It
RPG
could
one.
well be. It could well be.
Because you had like your party
Really?
of 4, and then like when you did your attacks, you had to do certain things on the touch screen with it to
No,
do like
you're
a bit like your
100%
Mario and
correct.
Sonic.
It is Dark Brotherhood I'm thinking of. I haven't had enough coffee, obviously. That I enjoyed.
Right? See, thank you. That's 2 for 2.
Yeah. It
was interesting.
actually
It was
enjoyed
weird. It was slower, but it was good.
It had such like a quirky art style as well for the time.
Yeah, it was. I don't know how to describe it. It's somewhere between sort of cel shaded and comic,
Yeah, I think that's fairly apt.
and yet kind of like faux 3D as well.
Like that isometric sort of style.
But definitely we've got to go back to Sonic R because again, just I was about to say
It's
just
a
like
guilty
everything we've said
pleasure.
so far. Every game has had a great soundtrack, and Sonic R is no exception.
Yeah, and I'm quite lucky. I've seen TJ Davis live, and she sung
Nice.
"We Can Feel the Sun, Can You Feel the Sunshine" and
Oh.
"Diamond in the Sky," and it was brilliant. She's
Was everyone
great.
waving their lighters and stuff? I would have been.
Oh, hands in the air like you just don't care.
Brilliant.
I,
Brilliant.
I even had my Sonic and Knuckles plushie. I was like,
Oh.
in the air.
See, that's something I'd love to catch would be the Sonic Symphony.
Oh yes, I would love to go and see that.
But it just doesn't come to this part of the world.
No, nearest is London, I think.
Yeah. Because that
Yes,
would be amazing.
It's funny you bring up that because in the last recording we actually did touch upon the Sonic Symphony because I was generally gutted that I couldn't go to it. Obviously it's not long just been over, but
Yeah.
because obviously we had Frontiers recently come out, well not recently but like a good year or so. They actually got Kellen Quinn, and he came. So they did obviously all the orchestra music in the background, and then he came on to do a couple of the songs, and it was watching clips on YouTube and stuff. It was fantastic.
Amazing. Yeah.
I know we've already touched on like 06 and stuff, but that song from Zebrahead, I really enjoyed that. That came out of like left field.
We just got an editor note here. Sonic the Fighters.
Oh. Sonic the Fighters.
Do you know what? Guilty pleasure. Kind of in the same vein as Sonic R. It exists. It probably shouldn't, but oh man, that is a game.
I'd have to agree.
I mean, they did introduce a couple of. If I remember rightly, they actually introduced a couple of characters in that, and we haven't seen them since.
Bark the polar bear.
Yeah. Although saying that, I say we haven't seen them since. Pretty sure Bark was in one of the missing posters in Mania, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, he is. I think there's quite a few.
Especially in these the saloon world levels.
I love that level.
It is a good time. The Western theme again. The soundtrack. I think the most considered. In fact, if anything, going to because we keep touching upon it anyway. But I think the way it's evolved over the years, like obviously way back when it was like poppy, chiptune, even funk at sometimes. Especially like we said with Marble Hill. That's very sort of funky bass tones and stuff. And then it's just sort of adopted into this, as we've already said, butt rock, because it is, and there's nothing to be ashamed about. If you like it, you like it, because good on you. It's generally good songs, and even if you don't listen to the songs that Crush 40 made for Sonic, their other stuff is genuinely good still.
Open your hearts.
This World by Zebrahead, that just lives rent free in my head.
And I'm not sure, I believe, I could be wrong in saying this, but I believe that the reason that Frontiers went for slightly heavier metal-y music is because the fans that played these games as a kid obviously grew up and their music changed, and you can kind of see it through the games. You can see like in the originals where it is this slightly more say kid-friendly music but not aimed at children, and then like as the games got older, clearly they knew their fans were getting older, so the music evolved with it. Then again, Frontiers came out, the fans are even older still, and I mean, to me, it kind of felt like people that were into, rock music would have at some point moved on to metal. Not all the time, but a large scale of people that liked rock will have moved to metal at some point. I guarantee it wound a lot. I wouldn't be surprised if it annoyed a lot of people when, some screamo came into it. It was like, whoa, what is this? My little eyes just blew up like a child at Christmas. I was like, it's got even more grown up.
I'll tell you what, though, you say Frontier soundtrack, another soundtrack which I think surprisingly for the type of game it is, if you know what I mean, that they went really hard on this soundtrack, is Sonic and the Black Knight. I don't know if you remember the soundtrack to Sonic and the Black Knight.
Remember it vaguely.
But that is seriously, go back to it and listen to it. That soundtrack is like in the top 5 easy soundtracks, and it's Sonic and the Black Knight. It's not a great game, but they just
it's better than the Secret Rings.
100%. Oh yeah, miles better. Secret.
Yes.
Fantastic soundtrack, and I like a couple of songs from Sonic Frontiers, but I will say I don't think the music has been that great in the newer games. But that's just me.
Well, it's subjective,
personal
right?
opinion.
So that's a fair point.
So I mean, Superstars. I'll
You say that, but what about when they introduced the music box into Frontiers? Because they added the music box for that free update where you can just have old songs played.
Oh
but
yeah.
not, they also, they remixed it as well. So you had some of the songs that were classics, and then it was the classic songs, but then they remixed it. I quite like running around the world just having that on, just play. Honestly, we're going into the cyber stages with the the techno tracks they've got. Awesome.
Oh
Love
yeah.
them.
But it might take me a while to warm to it, but it's like Sonic Forces. It took me a while to get to like the music, because there's actually quite a few tracks in Sonic Forces I really like now, which I didn't like before. So
Yeah, do you know what? I would argue Sonic Forces gets more flack than it should.
it's an okay game. I'll say that it's okay. It's fine.
I played it recently. I say recently, probably about a year ago, and ignoring all the story, just going for pure gameplay, and ignoring the story, pretending it doesn't exist. Like, the actual gameplay isn't that bad. I enjoyed it.
No,
Might
I
just been,
quite
I was
agree.
jonesing for a Sonic fix. I'm not sure, but just the actual core gameplay itself was, I don't know, it was enjoyable. I had a good time.
Yeah, I think it's okay. The story sucked. Absolutely sucked. But
Oh yeah,
The
if you're
game
ever
is
going to play
fine.
it, just every cutscene, just press skip. Just don't even listen to the story. Just play it for
Yeah.
the stages.
Pretty much.
yeah, it wasn't that bad.
Frontiers was an interesting, build off that, was an interesting development one as well, because it's one of those Sonic games that wasn't necessarily targeted towards the Western audience, but they still wanted to cash in there. So we see so much Japanese iconography. They picked the band, which are also, duolingual, all that sort of stuff. So it feels very authentic. And we're seeing now in a lot of Western gaming conventions, people love this stuff, like Elden Ring and all that. Not that we're talking about Elden Ring, but taking that audience that typically likes very different things. The age rating in Japan is a great example. Like, when I was learning Japanese at school, there were very, very R-rated things that we watched, just because the age ratings were so much lower in Japan. So it's a very, very fine line, and I think they did very well with it. It's so hard to satisfy two different opposing parties like that.
I'd agree with that. Because the one thing I continuously mumbled to myself with this game, and I've said it a few times tonight, is how much more mature.
Yes.
And not just because they've got slightly more gravelly voices and that stuff, but the actual themes, even just like you said earlier, with Tails and his genuine concerns and anxiety about himself and his ability to actually be useful. Quite mature themes for a Sonic game to throw out.
Really are. Oh yeah.
Even the way the voice actors talk, they do a lot more subtle, if you know what I mean. It's like when you first hear Sonic speak in that game, he's not, his usual over bubbly self.
Yeah,
He's
gotta get
speaking
fast.
very mature.
Yeah.
It's definitely from the get-go. You can see that they're taking a much more,
It's like a hedgehog that's actually 30 years old, as opposed to 12 years old forever, sort of thing.
So I get that. Yeah.
I don't want to say too much because I know it's okay. It's not a brand new game, but I don't want to go too deep into spoiler territory. But even like Eggman's arc in Frontiers, like to do with the child, and he kind of starts seeing his daughter and things like that. I'm like,
as a daughter,
okay, they touched that a little bit back with his Adventure 2 grandfather, and Maria, but they kind of.
Oh, you ungrateful humans took everything away from me.
This one, I don't know, out of the two of them, this feels more human than that one did.
Much more. Well, yeah, Eggman definitely feels a lot more human in Frontiers.
Definitely. Yeah, he's gone sort of away
Which
from
honestly.
that goofy bad guy to someone that actually has a background, has a story
Which
as well.
but that makes you wonder how do they approach Eggman in the next 3D game? How do they approach him as a villain? I don't know if you can. The way that Frontiers carries him off, I'm
Lots
going to
of
be super
random ideas
interested.
on a dartboard.
Well, yeah, they'll probably won't go back to the Frontier style now in Sega. I hope they do. Because
Well, no,
I
of
think
course
they
it
can
did. It did
improve-
really well when it made them money. Of course they won't go back to it.
Just do Sonic Frontiers again, but make the worlds feel more Sonic-like, I suppose. I don't know.
Yeah, that would be nice. Like, if the loading distances of graphical textures, and I'm nitpicking, but things like that, just to give that sense of speed and continuity to it. If they improved upon that, that would be really sick.
It sounds really silly, and I have no reason to play the game like it. I mean, obviously the grind rails, they've been in the games for years at this point, and they've always been there since the first introduction. But one thing I've noticed, because they added the Happy Birthday update where you can change the general look of the worlds. Playing the game like that feels more in line with old school Sonic, because obviously the grind rails look more, you know, silly and fun. Instead of just random things in the air to bounce on like balloons and stuff, it's like characters' faces in little balloons, and it feels more Sonic-y that way.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Like, if you've not tried it, definitely, like, next time you play it, boot up and then turn on the filter for, you know, the birthday mode. Take off the outfit for Sonic 'cause it's dumb. But, like, honestly, turn off the costume because it's silly.
Yeah. Ugh.
But just running around the world, like, you know, you got these, you know, like, you got like a bright pink HUD even.
Yeah.
You got like all these Knuckles, Tails, Amy balloons instead of just random objects. It's, I don't know, it's endearing.
It was. I remember when they first showed off Sonic Frontiers. I think it was IGN who showed off a load of gameplay. I was not impressed. I was like, what is this? This is just. It just looks so, I don't know, bland and just didn't look like Sonic at all. I mean, I still feel that way about the game somewhat, but I was like, wow.
I think anyone that's played it will. I probably agree. It could just be me. But the problem with Frontiers is it's one of those. The more you play it, you see things come to life, and that's kind of the. To me, that was the main draw of it. You go into this barren landscape. The more you do, everything starts to open and unfurl itself. You know, like you walk into a land and like there's nothing. There's no rails. There's no. Well, there is, but nothing major. And then the more you play around in this sandpit that you get to play in, you know, you start unlocking all these fun little traversals, and you know the game just keeps opening and opening and opening.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember when the first reviews came out? They're like, "It's a little barren."
It's a little barren.
Yeah, but then, like, to me, I'm like, oh, okay, so it's barren to start with. Then as you play, like you said,
you go up.
it opens and then everything becomes less barren, and it's like, wow, this is.
Yeah.
My kind of
There's a
must
lot
be
going on here.
My kind of reminds me of like Breath of the Wild a little bit, because you start off in this like, you know, it's like segment, and it's not, I wouldn't say very like barren, but it takes a little while for the world to open up. You just have to plow on through.
I mean, I do have something in mind for Sonic. We're doing that now. For Zelda in the future. But just while we've touched on it, I do think out of the two of them, Tears of the Kingdom surpassed Breath of the Wild in every way, shape, and form, because the world felt alive.
Yeah,
it didn't feel empty.
The engine change, like,
so good.
Did a lot of favors for them by using the Splatoon 2 engine rather than whatever they were using before.
Which is peculiar because it definitely still feels like it's on the same.
Well, there's the attention to detail with Zelda is always very, very high. Sounds, visuals. Like, even go back to Sonic here, with the Hedgehog mod manager for people who play on PC, some of the lighting mods or the lookup tables that you can get that apply over the top make it look very cinematic for normal gameplay. It's actually quite impressive. Shows you what such a little detail can do.
You see, that's I know I said at the beginning we stamped on 6 and 06, but something just pinging my brain just because you're talking about mods. There is, as always, the Sonic fans will do what, you know, Sega won't. And the amount of fan work that has actually gone into fixing 06, when that finally gets fully finished, I actually kind of want to go through it.
Project 06 is amazing at the minute. It is amazing. Like you said, when it's finished, it will be. Even now, it's just brilliant. I encourage everyone to give it a go because it's so good. It's really good.
It's the game that Sega should have made, but the fans did it instead.
Yeah,
they just took the framework of 06 and I was going to say butchered it, but they didn't. They fixed so much so far. It's not complete yet, because you know, obviously it's a very big job to do. But what they've done is, like obviously as Todd said, what they've done so far is phenomenal.
Really good, yeah. And that game had amazing.
Yeah, it did, yeah.
Yeah, 06 soundtrack was very good.
It's the best thing about the game, I think.
You didn't like the bit where Sonic kissed the princess?
No, I didn't enjoy the bestiality subplot. No, not in my Sonic games. No, thank you.
Impregnate those princesses.
I don't care what happens to the world. Oh, shut up, Elise. Shut up. Oh, that character annoyed me. She gets kidnapped more than Princess Peach.
Yeah, and to be fair, at least Peach only gets kidnapped once per game.
Yeah, she got kidnapped 5 times.
Brilliant.
What a game. You know, that's the only game I think I've played, finished, and actually traded in. I think that's the only time I've ever done that. Yes, that's the only game I've ever traded in.
I don't think I've ever traded in a game. It would break my heart too much.
Well, Sonic 06 wouldn't. It broke my heart as soon as I took it out of the case. So I took it.
But at least you had a nice case afterwards. You can prop something up with it.
Use it as my coffee coaster.
Exactly.
I'd really like. I don't know. It was made for the 15th or 20th anniversary. But Generations, I would love for that to just be playable on modern consoles. Just to port. I don't care if they touch nothing up on it. Just port it as it is. I would just, even if they just brought it to the Switch, they didn't even have to do anything at that point. They just put it on a Switch, and I'd be happy.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. It's a shame actually because I think the ones I really want on modern consoles is Generations and the Sonic and Sega All Stars racing games. I don't know if you've played those.
I have, yes. I would agree with that.
Transformed and
Peak.
the first one. I love those games, and they ended up
They're so
making
good.
Team Sonic Racing. Is it Sonic Team
Yes.
Racing? But yeah,
If you
I'd
haven't
love
played
for-
it, don't.
It's not as good
It-
as Transformed
It's
or the
not.
other. It's
It
not,
really
no.
isn't. It's almost a step backwards.
Yeah.
Like, it's worse than the first one
Yeah.
in terms of what you can do with it.
Well, the
If
first
you
one's
find
really
your-
good.
Oh, I hear the little goose is been let out of their pen. Guess that means we better start rolling this Sonic muddle of everything, bringing it to a close.
I'm gonna be listening to Sonic music all day now.
Open your heart.
It lives in my head forever, so don't worry. At work today, no word of a lie, I've listened to more Sonic than actual songs. So,
That Sphinx looks so cute. I had to shave it.
so obviously, as we're wrapping up, we're gonna go with not hidden gems, but lesser known Sonic games that you've played and enjoyed. What would you recommend to people?
Oh, what was that first one that came out for the DS? And it has that surfing remix tune.
Right.
New Venture.
Rush
la, la,
Adventure?
la, la,
Sonic
la,
Rush
la.
Adventure.
Yeah, I think so. It's one of those. Yeah, that was
Yep.
fun. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, there was
Where-
Sonic Rush,
first time
then
we see
Sonic
the
Adventure.
cat.
Yeah, they're good.
Cat.
What about you, Todd?
Lesser known. Sonic Schoolhouse? No, I'm kidding. Not Sonic Schoolhouse. I'd probably go. I know it's not quite a Sonic game. It's probably Tails Adventure for the Game Gear. It's not a brilliant game, but I think they could actually, if they. I reckon they should try that again. Because Tails throwing bombs, and I don't know. I just really like that game. I think it's actually a decent little handheld game that I don't
So
think
glad
enough
you
people.
didn't say Shadow.
Shadow the Hedgehog. Oh no, I'd never say that game. Oh no,
I
no.
just had the best editor note thrown at me. So, our lovely editor has reminded me to remind everyone of a hidden gem game to go play, and that's Sonic Dreams Collection.
Sonic Dreams Collection.
It's awful.
Oh,
It's
what
really-
the hell is this?
I haven't thought about Dreams Collection in ages.
I think I've just lost some IQ points just looking at the cover art.
It gets worse.
Wow.
I'm going to try and keep it as PG as I can.
Okay. I can't believe you mentioned Dreams Collection.
One of the I guess mini games in it is what you can call it. It's like you can do like a filming sequence thing, and I can't remember who's on the bed. It's either Sonic or Tails, and like you keep feeding them loads of things, and then you jump on the belly, and they like give birth to another friggin' Sonic character. It's wild.
Wait, is that not how birth works?
It is wild.
I can't believe you mentioned Sonic Dreams Collection.
It's a Sonic game, okay? All things are,
We need like a Chow Garden redone. That would be amazing.
Oh yeah, I'd like that.
Yeah,
just a
forget your
spin-off game on
Tamagotchis.
Charles. That'd be great.
I'm surprised they haven't done it, even for like mobile.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they.
True.
But then it's Sega. You can't expect them to give you what you want. I
We've got
suppose.
2 Sonic Dash games. What more do you want from them?
I suppose they're fun little time wasters. I suppose.
True.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed them.
Yeah.
There's me asking the question, and now I'm started thinking, I don't even know which Sonic game I'd throw out to people.
Sonic.exe.
Yeah.
Do you know what?
Some of the fan games are really good. Like the actual the fan made
Yeah.
games are pretty decent.
That's how we got Mania. So the fans know what's up.
Yeah.
Well, how we got Mania was obviously was Whitehead doing his own port of Sonic
That's
CD, and then
right.
Sega going, "You come here."
Yeah. And then they
Yeah.
used his entire engine, didn't they, in the end?
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's how we got
That's
Sonic 1 and 2 on the mobile, because again they they with him used his engine from that, and then did Sonic 2 and so on and so forth, and the rest is history.
That's a heck
That's-
of an achievement. Goodness.
And that made me appreciate Sonic CD even more because of how good that port was. That was just brilliant.
Do you know what? As a Sonic game, it's I'm not a biggest fan of CD.
I get it. I do. I get it. When people talk about CD and they come up with criticisms, I do completely understand why they say that.
You know, definitely before, because I know that this could either go one of two ways, and I fully believe people should play Sonic Labyrinth. It's weird. Don't get me wrong. It's very not what you'd expect from Sonic, but it's one of those games that you need to kind of experience. You can look at screenshots, you can look at gameplay, but you need to experience it, like physically play it.
Looks a
I
lot
mean,
like
this-
3D Blast with the art style.
There's the concept of Eggman stealing in Sonic's shoes. Go into his house and stealing his shoes. And
How else is he going to play basketball?
I,
And like literally, all the game is you just collect 3 keys, move on to the next area. That's all it is. But obviously, he doesn't have his shoes, so he can't run fast anymore.
it's very short. I suppose there's worse things you could play
Oh,
than
definitely.
Sonic Labyrinth.
Yeah.
What's
go
that?
back and play
Eggman's mean bean machine or whatever. That was a little bit of a.
Oh
good
yeah.
time,
I like that. It's basically Puyo, just Adventures
Yeah.
of Sonic the Hedgehog. Yeah, I like
Just with, like a sticker slapped over it.
that. Yeah, and Kirby did the same thing as well. So.
Yes, true. That's true.
I feel like Pokemon did as well, but I can't be 100%.
Oh, they're bound to have.
Yeah.
No, they did something different, sorry. It was a different game, but they slapped Tetris and Pokemon on that one. Can't remember what it was called, though.
Puzzle League?
Puzzle League.
No.
Yes.
Was it Puzzle League?
Yeah. Yep.
Missing No the game.
But yeah, so that was definitely a conversation on Sonic. We touched on everything, some of the outlier games, some of the extremely unaware games, such as Sonic Dreams Collection,
Oh,
which
God.
is an experience. Again, it's an experience of a game.
I think we did well. We didn't talk about like Sonic fanfic for an hour, so well
This is
done,
true.
everyone.
But yeah, so yeah, that's all Sonic, and as far as I know, that's our time up for this week. So obviously, massive thank you to Todd of TYG for joining us,
That's me.
fellow Sonic aficionado, and obviously the lovely Sadvan, who also is a fellow Sonic aficionado, who we can find over on where again for everyone?
The fellow
Twitch.
Sonic nerd.
Nerd, geek, all the above.
Nerd.
Wearing a Sonic t-shirt right now. Twitch.tv/Sadvan. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a blast.
Would you say it's been a
3D blast?
3D blast.
Ah, yes, that wavelength, baby, love it.
Woohoo!
So yeah, until next time, see you later. Toodle pip and be safe.
Bye.
Doodles.